Hi, I'm Stu from Hivemind Automation and welcome to The Hive. In this video, we'll be taking a look at 7 reasons that you should get started in home automation today. If you're on the fence about getting started or you want to be able to justify it to your significant other, hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a better picture of your reason why. So while I roll the intro, take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified when I release new videos each week. And let's get started. So if you've been looking into home automation for a while, but you haven't quite found that one reason to get you started, or maybe you're ready to get started, but you haven't quite figured out how to justify it to your partner, here are my top reasons that you should get started now. In at number 7 is using home automation for peace of mind. If you've got young kids who are starting to become independent and maybe they walk home from school by themselves or with friends, if they happen to have a smartphone or maybe they've got an iPad for school, you can then use Home Assistant to send you a notification when they arrive home. You could take that a step further and then start adding smart locks so you also then don't have to worry about them forgetting their keys or losing them when they leave their gym bag in the locker room after PE. Now, personally, I'm not yet sold on smart locks, but I will be getting some in for testing and I'll be sure to show you my results, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. There's even some ways to add facial recognition to your Home Assistant instance, and that's of course a future episode. And we can use that facial recognition from CCTV cameras to know when our kids get home. Also, coming home to a dark house can be a little bit anxiety inducing. Now that daylight savings has ended here in Melbourne and we're heading into the depths of a cold Melbourne winter, it's getting dark pretty early around here. And I can tell you that coming home to a dark house on a cold rainy night is never fun. So adding some presence detection to turn lights on when you get home, or even just turning them on at sunset, is a pretty simple way to increase your peace of mind. In at number 6 and tying into number 7 is comfort. We've started to have some pretty cold days start to stack up here in Melbourne, and it's made me think how nice it would be on a chilly day to be able to leave the office and then come home to a nice warm house without having to leave the heater on all day, running up the gas bill and only benefiting the cat. With a smart thermostat, some presence detection and some pretty simple automations, you could very easily set up an automation for when you leave work to then set the thermostat to your desired temperature. That way, provided your commute is more than just a few minutes, the house should be nice and toasty warm by the time you get home. Obviously, the reverse is also true if it's warm in your part of the world at the moment. Now, this of course isn't quite as useful while everyone's still working from home, but as we all start to return to the office, and especially during these winter months here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to start to become more useful. I'm planning to look at smart thermostats in a future video, and it's going to be an interesting topic because I haven't yet chosen which way I'm going to go. Now, in the same vein as smart thermostat is using smart lights and home automation to adjust your comfort level. If you've ever gotten up in the middle of the night for a glass of water, turned on the kitchen light and burnt your retinas to a crisp, you'll be glad to know that with some simple home automations, we can set our light brightness to a much lower intensity between certain hours. By adding some motion sensors or using motion sensors we already have for a security system, you can even remove the fumbling around in the dark for a light switch. This is pretty great in our house here because we've got some light switches in some less than obvious positions. And that's because when we built the house, we had cavity sliding doors, or pocket sliders you call them in America, installed in a few of our rooms. So having motion sensors means that our guests don't go, "Where is the light switch?" In at number 5, I'm going to put convenience, and this kind of ties into what we were just talking about as well. If you've ever gotten into the shower, started to lather up, got shampoo in your hair, and then realized while you're all wet and soapy that you forgot to turn on the exhaust fan, well, with a temperature and humidity sensor in the bathroom and a smart switch on the fan and some home automation, you no longer have to worry about turning the water off, dripping all over the floor, and having an anxiety attack about the possibility of getting an electric shock just to go and turn on the fan. Also, if you come home with a load of groceries, it's an awful lot easier with your hands full of shopping bags to call out to a smart assistant to close the garage door or to turn on the lights than it is to fumble around in your pockets for the garage remote or try to hit the switch on the wall with your nose or your forehead. In at number 4 on my list is accessibility. Now, this one gets overlooked a lot. But if you or a member of your family is living with a disability, adding some smart home gadgets and home automation can help you out a lot here. And in some cases, it may be cheaper than some purpose-built accessibility accessories. Getting smart bulbs and turning lights on and off with a voice assistant is going to be significantly cheaper than rewiring all the light switches in your home to a wheelchair accessible height. For someone with a hearing impairment, telling lamps or room switches to switch on and off a couple of times when the doorbell goes off is a super simple automation away. So not only that, but with the wireless protocols available, if you're a renter, you don't need to get permission from your landlord to install these accessories to aid your accessibility. I might do a deeper dive on accessibility in a future video. In at number 3 is saving money on energy costs. Now, firstly, just about every smart enabled light available uses LEDs as their light source, as opposed to compact fluorescent, incandescent, or halogen bulbs. So they're already going to be cheaper to operate. But if you've got kids who leave every light on in the house but sit in their room all day, you can easily set up automations with Home Assistant to turn lights off when they're not needed, when there's no motion detected in the room, for example. Or if the heater gets left on all day and no one's at home, with a smart thermostat, we could quite easily turn that off. And here's another thing that the dads out there are going to love. We mentioned before about coming home to a warm house or a cool house if it's warm outside. But if you've got a smart thermostat and kids who might mess with it, the setting, you can easily set up an automation in Home Assistant that detects when that thermostat is changed to something other than your desired setting and then sets it back immediately to where you want it. And there's a third way that having a smart home can help save you money, and that's by implementing energy monitoring. Whether it's through the use of smart plugs with energy monitoring or with something like the Rainforest Eagle whole house energy monitoring bridge to connect to your smart meter, with energy monitoring in your smart home, you can then make informed decisions about when to consume power. Whether it's running the dishwasher during the day to burn some solar energy input instead of running it at 8 p.m. right after dinner, when you'll also be paying peak rates for your energy as well. Energy monitoring can also help you to make some decisions about whether or not it's worth adding things like solar or batteries to your home. It's a lot easier to figure out what capacity of energy system you need if you've got good quality data to work from, rather than making estimates based on a previous bill. The number 2 reason for getting into home automation is security. Now, in a previous video, I showed you how you can use Home Assistant to set up a home security alarm. And in my recent notifications deep dive video, I also showed you how to push a critical notification to your phone if the alarm gets triggered. Adding some CCTV cameras into Home Assistant means that if your alarm gets triggered, you can take a look at the cameras and decide whether or not you need to call the emergency services. And don't forget, you can give your accessories double or even triple duty by using motion sensors to turn lights on and off, as well as for the security system. And in some cases, some CCTV cameras can detect motion and pass that information to Home Assistant as well. And in a couple of future videos, we'll discuss introducing object and facial recognition into your smart home as well. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on those, as those are sure to be interesting and possibly mind-bending. Lastly, the number one reason you should absolutely be getting into home automation is that it's just plain cool, and not to mention fun. If you want to improve your tech skills or you just like tinkering, home automation is a lot of fun. It's a great way to experiment with technology and stretch your skills a bit. And when you've got guests over, if that sort of thing is allowed in your part of the world right now, you can amaze them with your incredible smart home that makes your life easier. Bragging rights are a thing. Now, I have to be honest with you. Home automation is a hobby that will consume a fair amount of time. But in my mind, there's nothing quite like the feeling of tinkering around with some code or something for several hours, finally figuring out the settings and having a tiny part of the physical world change when you click a button on your computer. So what's your favorite reason to automate your home? Drop a comment down below and let's keep the conversation going. That is all the time we have for this video, and I hope that it helped you in your home automation journey. Be sure to comment down below with home automation ideas you'd like to see me cover in a future video. And don't forget to follow Hivemind Automation on all the social media sites. I'll put the links to those in the video description down below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button down below to give it a like. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing now. And while you're at it, hit the bell icon so you get notified when I release new videos each week. Lastly, if you enjoy what I'm doing here and you want to help to support the channel, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description down below. Contributions through that Buy Me a Coffee link are put towards making more and better content for you to enjoy. I want to thank you so much for watching. I'm Stu from Hivemind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.